Hey, welcome to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, the reunion, part one. So, the reunion starts with everybody getting ready and getting dressed like normal, like usual, talking a little mess on the side, whoop, whoop, whoop. Then Phaedra decides to walk around, goes to Brittany's room, and it's empty. She's not there. Where is Brittany? Oh my God, Brittany's not here. Anybody talk to her? No, I don't know what happened to her. Oh, well, I mean, she's gone. All right. Well, what? Now, I'm guessing the reunion was supposed to start maybe around like a 9 o'clock call time, something like that. I think the first lady to come out was Kelly. Was it Kelly? I don't know, but she was an hour late, which means pretty much all the ladies were an hour late. But Drew missed late every event that we have 3 hours. So they did not start till 12. When the ladies sat down, Portia and Phaedra sitting next to each other. Now remember, I already said they went to the same store and got their dresses. Literally the same dress, just different styles. Portia's was a better version. Jab jab, so called, that inspire what Phaedra had going on. Okay, whatever. But I mean, I know Phaedra is a small person, but why she looked at extra small sitting next to Portia? If y'all just go back, or just when we get to the next reunion part two, just look at her sitting there. And then Cynthia comes out, Cynthia, tall Amazon. Little Portia sitting in the middle like this. I guess I never noticed that her boobs was that small. I was like, oh God, you just so small. I don't know. I know it's the small versus the talls, but it was just that in this moment, for some reason, it just made her extra small. Maybe it was the outfit. I don't know. Or just the boobs. Because, girl, I didn't know. But let me stop, because itty bitty committee present. All right. But anywho, I already talked about the dresses on my last episode or video. But when I see them now and they're sitting down and all that good stuff, I think I might give it to Angela. Like overall look. Uh she might have won it this time. Now that I see everybody, right? Because standing up is one thing. Portia's presentation, I think, is just what makes her the best dressed here. But it's just a corset and a piece of fabric at the bottom. So technically, I would give it to Angela as the overall put together from head to toe. Beautiful. So, of course, the first thing we got to say is, where is Kelly? I mean, look, now, where's Kelly? Where is Britt? Andy goes on to let us know that, she opted out today, that she didn't want to join. Kelly, what's your thoughts? She just goes on to say that, I mean, she's been playing the villain and the victim. So, I mean, I don't know. She wanted to cause this mass destruction amongst the group. And I think she accomplished that. But, I wish she was here so, we can work things out. Portia goes on to say that she did speak to her, like I think the night before. So it sounded like she was ready to show up and everything with her husband and everything, like the whole nine. And then we fly over to Shamia, and Shamia was like, well, yeah, I wish she was here too, because I wanted, to hold her accountable for some of the stuff that she was saying. Some lies, I'm guessing, or was it was either lies. Yeah, I think it was the lies. Drew pipes in at the end and say, well, I think she's suing me. I guess some type of defamation case or something against her. She's not too sure. I guess she must have said something in the blogs and it got back to Britt, and now Britt mad about it. Or was it something to do with what everybody was talking about? I don't know. Either way, Brittany a hater, Brittany mad, Brittany sad, Brittany a punk. Okay? Because, bitch, sore loser. You can't even show up. That's why this whole reunion, I was actually mad watching this reunion. I thought I was going to be excited, but I'm not. I'm actually pissed off how they had Portia and Phaedra sitting over there like that by themselves. They had to drag Cynthia ass out. Po thing wasn't even properly dressed because she's sitting down. That dress was all bunched up in the stomach area. And I'm like, oh, Lord, they just plucked you off somewhere in your room at home and said, come on, because we ain't got no Brittany and we ain't got no Kenya. So that's two major plots of this whole season that we won't get no resolve because we could not get them both here. Or actually, we could have had Kenya here had y'all had her on. Brittany just decided to be a sore loser and leave. So, okay, let me stop because I'm on a rant. Okay, so the question was to the newbies, how y'all like joining the group now that y'all finally up here and everything like this. Of course, Kelly's like, yeah, I'm glad. I got everybody open me up, welcome me with open arms, Angela, yeah, I'm cool with everybody. I'm glad for the experience. I'm glad I found out I'm not the only one who gets hot because, she got her fan. She actually bought her a little fan, a little bedazzled, something to match the dress. And then of course Shamia, like for her a long time coming, right? I've been here, just not here. Waiting in the back to come out for my little friend time moment at the reunion so I'm not in the shadows no more. I'm here. I'm her. Okay. So before we start, Shamia does a little prayer for everybody, right? And then Andy asks, does anybody want to set any intentions for the day? Portia says, sure. I just want to set, at least for everybody that I got beef with, I want to be the one, I just want to step up to each person with the truth, okay? And maybe we can move on or not move on, but we'll have some type of closure. So, like I said, we did bring Cynthia out after literally 5 minutes of starting with the original ladies, because it was pretty naked over there on that side without no Kenya or no Brittany. Okay, so at least could have. I don't even know. At least could have threw Drew over there to even out the score, and then asked Cynthia on the end, and at the end or whatever, how they wanted to do it. But we bring her on out. How you being? How you like being a friend of? She likes it. Because as a friend of, I could move around in different spaces of the group and talk to the ladies on different aspects of, things that go on in their life. Because obviously Miss Cynthia been divorced 2 times. And she might know them. Might know a thing or two, right? So, okay, cool. For me, Cynthia being here, I don't know. It's like an afterthought. It's how I feel about it. She was just an afterthought. She wasn't doing nothing to set okay. But then the spots that she was thrown in, being a peacemaker or bone carrier, however you want to put it. I don't know. I guess it kind of fits her in a way because she, not necessarily was a loud main character like compared to Nene or Kenya or something like that. But it was kind of unnecessary. I think we could have got maybe a Sheree as a friend of, would have been better. Maybe Marlo could have stuck around as a friend of. That probably would have been a little bit better. But she did what she did. Of course, we had to ask her about her with JJ because she admitted that she had a hood going on down there. We laugh about it. Andy asked her about she dating still. Amsterdam was the nickname she gave on the show, but his name is La Prince. Okay, some guy, he's like a musician, artist type thing, a little younger than her, 39, but doing her thing, getting her swang on. Phaedra, gets mentioned in the bunch because is she still dating Shaq? Yes, of course they still, messing around, and of course, we 32, which I think we kind of probably knew that he was younger than her. So we start off with Portia because Andy, hey, you're in the house now. And then glad you got the film. Well, she only got to film that one little scene at the end on the last episode. So technically, do we call that filming? Okay, whatever. Andy be trying to be nice sometimes to the ladies. Yeah, so he asked her, who home is it? How's the divorce, this and that. The home was a marital home, which basically means it was in both their names, what we're going to say. Which is why the fight for it, I guess, is so, or was so important, because technically that's the money. If we want to think about it, like that's their biggest asset, I'm assuming. So of course they will want to keep it, either one of them, so that eventually when they sell, they'll still have a little boom boom bumper on the back, so they can still get something else and all this kind of good stuff, right? Whatever, whatever, blah blah blah. So yeah, she got the home right now, but it's a phantom divorce because it didn't necessarily, like, she's not technically divorced at all. So she tries to throw in here, mention that, it's just like Kelly's marriage, where, we're just doing this back and forth, back and forth. I go to court, come back, I'm not divorced. So Kelly like, she talking about me? Like, she trying to compare stuff? Like, I don't know. Andy asked her, like, I heard that Simon was detained. Like, what's going on with that? She was like, yep, ICE picked him up. So that's pretty much why this divorce is making it worse, because he's not here to do what he's supposed to do, and the waiting game is longer, this and this and that, especially communicating from across the seas. I mean, I'm sure you ain't you ain't getting nothing complete, especially if he not being willing, right? So she can't really say too much for legal reasons, I guess. Speaking on Simon, basically he was detained by ICE. He ain't had no citizenship, so he's in jail somewhere. But I think last time we saw him, he was out because he made a video on the blog somewhere. So it's not like he in jail. He just probably at his mama's house. But anyway, did you call ICE on him? No, I didn't. It's not beneficial for her to do such a thing, right? Because, like I said, him being away is making it worse. Andy asked, were they friends with Gerald? Was he friends with Gerald, which is Shamia's man? Then, yes, they were friends. Obviously, I think pretty much all of us knew that. Even though they weren't from the same country, but, Africans do, the things, just like Latinos, right? Even if we ain't from Mexico and this, but we still cool because we all speak Spanish. But anyway, so what were the reasons for the divorce? Andy asked, and she says pretty much it was a lot of untruths in the marriage. For instance, she didn't know that she was the fifth wife until later. She didn't know where the finances were coming from necessarily. She felt that Simon put her in a dangerous situation, not saying as in like a domestic abuse type thing, but in the financial ruin type of way, right? So it's just why that they had to divorce, which we can all take with a grain of salt because you married him so quickly without finding these things out first is like so of course there was untruths in the marriage, like, you know what I'm saying? So girl, it's maybe she just can't talk about it, I don't know, but Portia be not saying a lot. She, especially like when we don't get to that in just a moment. Hold on. So Kelly, why you ask Portia why she take that lady husband? Like, were you trying to be concerned or was you being petty? Of course, we all know she was being petty, but of course here on the reunion she goes like, oh, well, I was just being concerned. So, okay, whatever, girl. But your answer, we tried to basically ask you about your marriage and what you love him and all that good stuff. And your answer was that, yeah, you really loved him, but I just don't believe you. Okay? So obviously her and Kelly just not on the same page right now. Obviously, it's everybody versus Portia at this point. Everybody versus Phaedra. It should be everybody versus Brittany, but she ain't here. Sorry. So here, Kelly and Portia kind of go back and forth a little bit because, Portia trying to compare and say, well, our marriages were pretty much we're going through the divorce similar situations and this and that, and we talked, and then we, talked about things with each other and all this stuff. So I thought, we were cool and this and that. And Kelly, like, girl, listen, it's not the same situation. So I just want you to stop comparing my divorce to yours, because 11 years is what I got. You 11 months, girl. It just doesn't compare. Apples to peaches. Like, come on now. Which I probably have to agree with Kelly on that, because, girl, you don't even, girl, y'all wouldn't even, like, me and my ex is battling real stuff, real life. You and Simon playing games. So we asked Portia about the, you want to fuck Charles comment with Angela. And, of course, she just, like she's told us before on that episode, like, was this wrong to say? I shouldn't have did it. Being petty, that's just what I did. But I'm not really gonna do it, this and this and that, whatever. So Angela's like, well, see, yeah, I don't know. See, I don't know how Angela just threw this out there, but she thought Shamia introduced you to Simon. So this is where I get a little confusing a little bit. Not too much, but only on Portia's side, because like Shamia said, girl, I never said that, and I introduced them. No. Angela was so adamant, like, yes, you did, yes, you did, yes, you did. Roll tape, she said, oh, I was there when they met. I was there when they met. Not, I hooked them up. So, okay, Shamia, you cleared on that one. But when it came to Portia, who introduced y'all? I mean, some people did and all this stuff, but we ain't gonna go into that, because guess what? I got them and I'm letting them go. So it is what it is. And I'm like, see, that's where I'm saying you can't never get. You stole that lady husband. Portia and Dennis, how they doing? Any future kids and they future and this and this and that. She just good with Dennis. They co-parenting. They doing what they got to do for Pilar. So in this moment, in that current time, everything good. But getting back together, I don't know. She never really answered that question. So here we kind of get another back and forth, because I can't remember if Kelly just chimed in her 2 cents or whatever. But either way, it's a back and forth with Kelly and Portia again. I guess about marriages and whatever, because we mentioned Dennis. Which now we got Drew in the mix, and I'm not sure if Andy asked her a question or not. See, look, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like, look, what part was this? But either way, Drew goes on to say something like, yeah, Portia came back to this show to show a life that she ain't got. Okay, so this was kind of in the back and forth that they was going through, and Portia's the one that made me her storyline. That's all she did with this whole season was argue with me, and we could have hashed out our issues long ago, but she just never answered my phone calls and my texts and all that stuff like that. So they do ask her, like, do you think that Drew was sleeping with Dennis? Like, do you think that was true, Portia? Sleeping with Dennis for beats? And of course, Drew like, no, I will never do something like that. You have to pay for those things in studio time, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Whatever text messages that she read, I guess on Portia's end, it looked like it was some type of sexual transaction. So for her, that was all the proof that she needed. And like Drew said, listen, you knew that I was working with Dennis from the beginning. And I guess they were supposed to talk about it, but like you just never responded to me. No calls, no texts, no emails back to me, even though I sent all those things to you. You just didn't want to go there and talk to me or nothing. So I'm just, it was like we could have avoided all this, whatever that you're feeling, had you just confronted the feeling head on and just nipped it all in the butt. And then we all could have just been one little happy family making music, making music together. You probably could have been making you some songs too, Portia. Like, what? And Pilar, for Christ's sakes. I don't know. It was just a big old unnecessary mess between them, should I say. So Portia just lets her know, well, okay, well, the problem was, it wasn't that y'all was working together on the music, it was the problem that y'all was filming together, which I think we kind of went through already during the show. They go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because it wasn't like Drew was trying to film with him on purpose. It was, well, wherever the cameras is at, and he's there, and he just so happens to be there, then it is what it is, right? So Andy asked Portia, do you think that Drew deserves an apology now that you know all the truth? And of course, Portia was just kind of sitting there like, whatever. But she gets up and she goes over to Drew and gives her a hug. Like, okay, we can hug it out. We'll do. Okay, fine. So basically, in this case, Portia, all you had to do was just say, hurt people, hurt people. You was hurt, going through your healing and whatever, divorce, stress. So you was just hurting Drew, but just because. Should that be your same excuse for Shamia? When we get there, because it's only the first episode. Dang, I didn't mean to make this long, so let me try to skip around a little bit. But what happened between Kelly and Britt? Obviously, oh, listen, not obviously, but Kelly was saying that Brittany was having a hard time when the show started, or maybe before the show started. You know, just so with wardrobe and things like that, right? Her looks. So Kelly said, well, I extended my olive branch or my hand to her to say, well, hey, you can use my glam squad, you can use my wardrobe and get yourself together. So what she did, she paid for her services, just like Kelly paid for her services. But it was like, I think she felt she was taking advantage of the situation because maybe you was only supposed to use it once or twice, but then he was using it like every day. So it was like, oh my God, single white female, are you trying to steal my life or something? Like, what's going on? You want to be me? So Portia's kind of being Brittany's talk piece right now because she's just saying, well, Brittany told me that she felt that, Kelly was jealous and she thought that, the newbies was supposed to have an alliance. And I was like, now this right here piqued my interest because, all the rest of the stuff is just whatever. But alliance amongst the group, like we was breaking the fourth wall right here for sure. Like I know the reunion is kind of not really wall breaking because technically we're supposed to be exposed and all this stuff being truthful at this moment, but no, we breaking it down to the fifth wall at this point because an alliance between the group is this big brother. What kind of alliance is going on here? Like we know some things we know things take place behind the scenes that's not filmed on camera between people, how they like to try to set some things up and are very strategic in the way they move with certain things, how they can ice people out the group together by, not inviting, by coercing together on the side. So Shamia says, yes, there was an alliance. It was Shamia, Kelly, Brittany, and Portia. So it was like Brittany, or it was like, so Portia, why you bringing up stuff about alliances, girl? You was in it, so what? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, what is Portia doing with this? Is like she can't really tell the truth because why? Yeah, you gonna mention something, but didn't mention that you was a part of it, but you acting like you ain't know nothing about it. But somewhere, I guess she was iced out of it because it went to we're gonna go after Portia with this alliance type thing. And once I guess Brittany felt that nobody was on her side after the Kenya debacle is how I'm gonna put it there. Because I feel like after Kenya left, they wasn't seeing it for her anyway. And she felt it and she knew it, so she was trying her hardest to maybe get to know the ladies, but it just was a fail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because technically they really just didn't want to go there with you. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, it is what it is. I don't know. So we asking Kelly about being friends with Brittany, like you was riding and dying for her, like for real. And she was, so when it came to the Angela situation about where that baby at and all that stuff, she kind of apologized to Angela for that because she was just sticking up for her friend and doing what friends supposed to do. Angela had no idea about no alliance, like, so now she kind of know, like, dang, that's kind of messed up. I said, look, that's kind of messed up. Y'all left me out, but they like, well, we didn't really know you like that, and this and that. Okay, whatever, right? So Andy brings up, how it was getting pretty dark between her and Brittany, where Brittany was bringing up bobos and things like that. And Kelly, like, yeah, like, I don't even know why she would mention that. She must have been pillow talking with the stylist on some stuff that I guess I must have told them. But either way, it was not never in my marriage. I never did no things like that. And I got my tubes tied, so I couldn't do such things anywho. So, it is what it is. Now I got to go, explain things to her children, all this crap, blah, blah, blah. But no, it wasn't true. We knew that Kelly was officially divorced, right? She done spent about $200,000 amongst the, what was a 3-year span to get divorced from this man. Did they think it was strange that she had a bodyguard? No, they didn't necessarily. It was for what, 1 or 2 people, which I guess was the ex. I guess they was alluding to Brittany as the second one, but either way, it was just for anybody who was trying to come for her. She had her protection. Portia being petty. What would? Oh yeah, being petty about something that Ralph told her. What did Ralph tell her? I can't even damn remember. But anyway, she was doing it for the show, regardless. When she was beefing with Drew, Andy, he mentions that Portia had a bodyguard at some point. And she said, yeah, that was mostly to keep everybody safe. It wasn't just for one person, okay, per se. Okay, whatever. Kelly getting sued. We kind of saw that at the little end credits. She ain't been paying some stuff. Okay, it was like credit cards and whatever she was putting up. Yeah, she got some money to pay, okay. Extravagant gifts for her children while she over here got to pay for credit cards and things. So, bitch, you either just doing extra stuff and you really can't for no reason, but it is what it is. That's her lifestyle. She likes it. She needs this and do that for her children, even for the dog. Okay, we saw a little pink. She should have named the dang dog Cindy or something, or Betsy, because it was like a Betsy Johnson or a Cindy Lauper type gig back in the day. Like, that's what her doggy kind of looked like. And Andy hit her with this with a little shade, like, girl, right, you spending all this money, all this stuff, and getting in debt and being sued when you should be investing in your restaurants. And she was like, yeah, you right. Yeah, you right. Ooh, I keep looking at Cynthia too. Like, ooh, not only was the dress wrong, the wig was just all, I know we said Phaedra was the worst dress, but Lord, Cynthia, they just threw you out here so bad. This is the worst. This is a bad reunion. So Andy asked Shamia if she thinks that she was stirring the pot between Brittany and Kelly. Because remember, she was kind of going back and forth, telling each other what each other had said. And she didn't really like Brittany. So, but she said, no, I wasn't. But like I said, you didn't really like Brittany at this point. So it's kind of like, what was you really doing? So Andy asked Kelly, do you think that you and Brittany is gonna have a, like, fix your relationship or ever have a friendship again? And she goes on to say that no, she doesn't think so. She thinks that chapter will be closed because, she was a real good friend to Brittany, doing all these things, the Ivy that she had on that show with $1,000 for her, Brittany, and the husband. Like, look, I mean, I do nice things for people too. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You understand? But not to have it reciprocated, yeah, that will bother me at some point if I'm doing all this stuff and I ain't never get like a card or something, or like, you couldn't buy me a drink at the bar. So it is what it is. It's a closed chapter. Look, and Brittany ain't here to defend herself to say otherwise. Ooh, all right, dang, 30 minutes, my bad. Like I said, I was reunions gonna take a minute. I ain't gonna lie, for at least for me, because I be trying to hit every point just so that y'all can get to what was going on, but I'm trying to figure out like maybe I can skip a few things. But either way, we ended off when we hit Angela, okay? Angela in this Marcus situation versus Phaedra. It's like she met the guy, or she figured out who he was or whatever after he came to the restaurant and did what he did. Your husband's cheating on you type deal. Shot. Talked to him. I guess he tried to pin it on Kelly at first, but then he eventually spilled the beans and said it was Phaedra. She pulled out her receipts. It basically said that this Marcus dude has a sister or auntie or cousin named Kimberly who got a brother or cousin or uncle who went to the same school as Phaedra did. So Phaedra knows these people and this and this and that, and that's how they connected. Phaedra like, no, I don't know you. I don't know her. I don't know Marcus. I know I'm not trying to come for you, because she's like, yeah, and you was just coming for me all this time. Like, you didn't know Charles was married and all this stuff. So it's like you're just trying to personally attack me, and I just don't understand it. And she's like, it's not me. I don't even know you, Angela. I don't know Marcus. I don't know them people. We went to the same high school. What does that mean? I mean, it's a lot of people who go to the same high school with each other. And I'm ending here because the boop light bulb that popped up in my head as soon as she said that about going to high schools with each other was Nene Leakes. Because remember when you came on this show talking about, oh yeah, I know Nene and all this stuff, because we went to the same high school with each other in Athens. And Nene like, girl, I probably was over here in the hallway. She was down there in the hallway. So did we know each other? No. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Remember you was the what that man said, a head doctor or somebody. I don't know, but girl. Uh this was it. Reunion part one. Like I said, I was excited at first from the trailer. But then now that I watch it, I'm just like, I'm kind of mad just because Brittany ain't here to show her side and do, and Kenya ain't here to hold her side either. So it's really a big bust besides what they got going on, which is a bunch of petty stuff. And we got to stretch it out into 3 parts, which means a lot of this first episode was a bunch of filler. And the rest is going to be a lot of filler too until we get to Portia versus Shamia. And who else versus Drew versus Portia, Drew and Ralph. Okay, yeah, whatever. Reunion, Atlanta. Talk to y'all later. Bye.